There's so many different ways of getting rich. I do think you have to have some level of dream that's bigger than your fear. There's a lot more smarter people out there than they give themselves credit for. The only difference is that I start. How do you get a part of it today, right now? I do believe there's a misconception, and something that most people get wrong is that you can't do what you enjoy or passion or dream about and make a lot of money doing it. I don't believe that. There's 3,100 billionaires on the planet, which is not that many. So if you want to meet one and learn from one, that's a really great cheat code of life. I was around the highest standard on earth, specifically in business, at a very young age, and I feel very lucky to be there. As the business got going, about 1 or 2 years in, I joined 2005. At that point, when we had 10 million people, he's like, we're going to have 1 billion people on this site. We had 10 million. No one knew us. Everyone thought MySpace was going to crush us. I've worked directly for Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovitz, Matt Kohler. These are all billionaires. Sean Parker, been around Peter Thiel a little bit. I think the two biggest kind of surprises, he was very focused, and I went to him many times. I was like, can we please try to make money? Like, I built Facebook ads. I helped build Facebook mobile. I helped build Facebook status updates, which no one really wanted, which is now the main thing on Facebook and Twitter and all these sites. But what was fascinating is that at the time of making money, he's like, no, we just care about getting to 1 billion people. And that level of focus was so impressive. But probably the most shocking was just how much conviction we all had about the mission. All of us, I don't know if I would kill people, but I would have gone to jail for a long time for Facebook. So yeah, we were willing to kill for what we were doing. The power of asking is the most powerful thing that no one is really improving on or really getting started on. The upside of asking is unlimited, and the downside is a moment of discomfort. Really, if you start asking people for things, you can start getting things. If you don't ask, you can't get. You're just going to get what you get. You're not going to get what you want. I think you'll be surprised what you can get and what you can learn, really, which is really interesting. How are you solving the goal and the problems and the priorities with the resources that are available? There's literally no restriction on effort. There's no law. The only law is 24 hours. Besides that, you can work as hard as you want. Everyone should be an entrepreneur. Everyone. Because if you get fired today, what's your backup plan? Go on Indeed.com and pray. You hear all these, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, all these people really just did one thing. There's not enough credit given to people that make good decisions consistently over long periods of time. I remember, I worked for Zuckerberg directly, and the crazy part about business, this is kind of the craziest part, at the same time, you only need one hit. Just one. With $1 Million Weekend in the book, one of the biggest breakthroughs for people is just getting started, because Zuckerberg really has done one thing. He started Facebook. That's it. Everything else he bought. Nothing else that guy's come up with has been good. So if you think about that for choosing a husband or wife, if you can find one great one, you're done. And you got to keep working on it for a long period of time. But the same thing with business. I tried 24 different businesses to finally get to AppSumo, to finally eventually get rich. Right? So yeah, you're swinging, but just one works. Awesome. But I think people don't swing enough. They don't even get started swinging. And that's, they're not ready on the sidelines. And there's never a good time. The best time is right now. It's not yesterday because that passed. It's not tomorrow because you don't know. It's right now. Zuckerberg had a giant vision. And I do think you have to have some level of dream that's bigger than your fear. Because that's how you can get going, because we're all afraid of something. So your dream has to be bigger than your fear. And the dream of what you're excited about. And then the reality is that you can actually get going towards that dream sooner than you realize. I've done a lot of things, man. I've been swinging for a long time, and that's something that's available to everyone. And I do think that's missed out on. That there's a lot of ordinary people being rich and being successful, and people think it's an exclusive club. And that's just not true. So at 40, I think I just finally, over compounding a long amount of time of doing a lot of things, finally getting to doing the things I actually really want, I felt really proud of the things I'm doing. And yes, it does seem that other people are excited about all this stuff, which is great. As any business owner, the number one thing you're focusing on is who's that customer. That whether you're creating a video or you're whether creating a lawn mowing business or a software business. Most people are just still sitting, and if they want to be a good cook, they're just watching another YouTube video on how to cook. But to be a good cook, you have to eventually get in the kitchen. So you have to get going right now and get going on these things to be able to get there. The other approach that, is an AppSumo value is test and invest. How do you test it? So if you're driving, don't just drive really fast, drive really a little slow and just kind of see, all right, well, it feels like I'm on the right path. And you keep doing that. Same thing with YouTube. Instead of putting out 2 videos a month, put out a video every day for 30 days. Or do 100, I call it the law of 100, stick to at least 100, and then make that decision. And you could test a lot of these things and then find what works and go more further with it. Most people are like, well, I'm going to build an app for 6 months. I'm going to build a super big YouTube video. I'm going to spend a month on it, put it out there. No one wants it. You could have found that out in 1 hour. And if someone wants it, great. You could do a lot more of it. But I would say the success of a founder and success if you want to be an employee CEO within a company is, how are you being resourceful? How are you solving the goal and the problems and the priorities with the resources that are available? Most people sit and they complain like, oh, I don't have this. Like, there's a lot of people, I'm not getting paid enough. Well, what are you doing about it? Did you put together a proposal? Did you go look at comparison analysis? Did you go create more revenue so it's obvious that people should pay you more? That's probably about the 98%. 2%, like Sean and others at our team, are saying, here's all the money I made for the company. Here's comparables. Here's the salary you should pay me. And you're lucky to pay me this because it's so less than I'm generating from the business. And let's do it in this time frame. It's resourceful. He's figuring it out.
You spoke about 40-year-old Noah. What about 20-year-old Noah? Like, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Hey there, little buddy. A few things. I would focus a lot more on positive self-talk. I was very externally validating, like, Facebook fired me, I'm so angry, I suck, these guys are better, I'm never going to make it, how am I going to get rich? I'm not rich yet, everyone else is rich. So I really would have liked more optimism and just positive self-talk. And how you can do that now is that anytime you criticize yourself, say a positive thing. This is borrowed from my buddy Tynan. He's something I've worked on by 40. So if you're like, oh, I sucked at this thing. So you could say that. That's good to say. Fine. The next thing you say is, oh, I'm learning. That's okay. You're learning. Hey, you didn't do a good job at that. Okay, well, I can do better next time. And you do that over time and time again. That builds up your self-confidence and your self-worth. So that would be number one. So number two would be patience and optimism. Again, optimism. So just patience. All these cliches are so true. Like, oh, the destination, not the journey, don't worry about it. And I was like, shut up, dude, I'm poor and I want to get rich. So I don't care about your shitty journey. And I made it much harder on myself and more frustrating when that is the whole experience. The whole experience is the journey. And so I would have liked to have been, hey, you have a vision, you have optimism that it'll work out. You're talking positively. Let's be patient that you will get there. And I do think I ended up at a similar destination regardless, but I definitely made it a lot more unsatisfactory along the way. Do you believe everyone wants to be rich?
No, not at the deepest level, no.
We want to feel good about ourselves and proud of ourselves. And in this society, maybe in the alien society it's different, but in this society we have determined that the exchange of value for money is how we're going to operate. And for 20 years I was just so obsessed with creating money and getting money. And I was not really obsessed at all in enjoying life and enjoying the money. And that's something when COVID happened that 180'd my life. And I'm grateful for it. It was definitely unfortunate for a lot of people. I was just grateful that it brought up, okay, well, if this is not forever, how do we enjoy this life? When I go to these billionaires, one of my favorite questions is, how do you enjoy money? But what do you regret about the money? And almost all of them, they regret not spending more time with their family. And only a very few were able to balance that. And that's something that stuck with me, where it's the reason I left San Francisco. I didn't want to talk about funding and employees and how big your company is. I don't care. I really, what I'm interested in is like, how good is your life? Like, how are you with yourself? Not even necessarily you have to be this donor person. I think that's one way of a great life. How are you to your partner? How are you to your parents? How are you to your friends? How are you to the people you work with? And I think money is very sensitive, and I think we're taught a lot about how to create it, but definitely there's much more there as well, how to enjoy it and different things that people enjoy.